When Jesus was dying, heaven was not silent. You're watching the Forbidden Bible, where the hidden war of angels and demons, the ancient prophecies sealed for the last days, and the forbidden mysteries of Scripture are revealed with cinematic clarity. If you're new here, subscribe and tap the bell icon, because what you're about to discover may change the way you understand heaven, the unseen realm, and your place within it. For most people, the story of the cross is painfully simple. A dusty hill, a brutal Roman execution, nails driven through flesh, the mocking crowd, a dying man hanging between two criminals. We've heard it preached, we've seen it painted, we've watched it reenacted in films. From the ground, the cross looks like defeat, it looks like tragedy, it looks like silence, as if heaven turned away. But that is only what human eyes could see. Scripture tells us something else was happening. At noon, the sky went dark, not cloudy, not stormy, dark for 3 long hours. And that darkness wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't just atmospheric, it was a signal. Because while the world watched Jesus bleed, the unseen realm was holding its breath. What looked like the quiet death of a teacher on a hill was actually the beginning of a confrontation that terrified hell itself. And standing in the invisible skies above the cross were 2 of heaven's most powerful watchers, Michael, the warrior of God, and Uriel, the angel of divine fire. At exactly noon, the sun didn't fade, it vanished. No clouds rolled in, no storm swept the hills. Darkness fell like a curtain, dropped across the sky. The crowds grew uneasy. Soldiers shifted their grip on their spears. Even the wind seemed to stop moving. For 3 long hours, the world stood under a shadow that made no sense. But the most important reaction didn't happen on the ground. It happened above the cross, high in the unseen skies, just beyond the reach of human sight. 2 massive figures had already taken their positions. Michael stood first. His armor glowed like slow-burning embers. His wings, vast and unshakable, barely moved. In the heavy air, the sword of heaven rested in his hand, unstained, yet fully drawn. Michael was not watching the crowd. He wasn't watching the soldiers. He was watching the face of Jesus. Every time Christ gasped for breath, Michael tightened his grip, not in anger, but restraint, the kind of restraint that coils like a lion, waiting to be released. Beside him floated Uriel. Where Michael looked like war, Uriel looked like fire. Light poured from his form, not violently, but deliberately, like a furnace, burning at perfect control. Uriel's eyes never shifted to the ground. They tracked something else, the trembling reactions spreading through the unseen realm below. Far beneath the cross, the darkness answered. The darkness. Chains rattled, ancient spirits stirred. Demonic watchers withdrew from the hill's edge, sensing something was wrong. This didn't feel like victory. It felt like silence before a storm. And here's the question you never expect to ask. Have you ever stood in the middle of pain and felt like nothing was moving, like heaven itself had gone quiet? Michael and Uriel were witnessing that same tension, a moment when everything looked frozen, but reality was holding its breath. Because what neither angels nor demons could see clearly yet was that the silence above the cross was not absence, it was preparation, and in that silence, a command was about to be released that would shake both heaven and hell. Then the silence broke. From the center of the darkness, a voice rose from the cross. Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. It wasn't a whisper. It wasn't a scream of fear. It was a cry that cut through realms. The hill heard it, but the heavens felt it. Michael spun toward the sound. For the first time, since the darkness fell, his wings unfolded. The grip on his sword tightened, not because he was about to strike, but because he had been waiting for this moment. He recognized that cry. It wasn't despair. It was a signal. Uriel's light surged brighter. Every flame within him focused on the cross. His eyes locked on Jesus. Not the wounds, not the blood, but the authority still burning behind the pain. Uriel understood what most couldn't. Jesus was not losing control. He was releasing it. No trumpet sounded. No thunder answered. Yet something moved. From the spirit of the sun, a message raced upward into the unseen. Hold the line. Guard what is mine. The words did not pass through air. They moved through spirit, and heaven snapped to attention. Michael straightened, his blade lifted into position, not to strike, but to block every shadow that would dare interfere. Uriel extended one blazing hand, and a wave of light rippled outward, not across the sky, but across the unseen battlefield. Demons below the hill recoiled. They felt the shift. What looked like weakness was becoming something else. Here's the question that hits close to home. Have you ever cried out and thought, nothing answered? What if help wasn't silent, just unseen? What if what you felt as abandonment was actually the moment everything began to move? As Jesus' body weakened on the cross, everything else began to awaken, because the command had been given. The angels were standing, and what happened next did not rise upward into heaven. It descended into the deepest darkness mankind had ever known. While the world above stood frozen, something began to move beneath the cross. As Jesus' final breath left his body, his spirit did not rise upward. It descended, not into calm, but into the realm of the dead. Darkness unfolded like a corridor older than the earth itself. And within that realm, the watchers were real, not myths, not symbols, but fallen sentinels, ancient guardians who rebelled against heaven in the earliest ages of mankind. Many now lay chained in silent torment, sealed away for their rebellion. Beneath them, deeper into the abyss, were the prisons of the giant's offspring of forbidden unions who once towered over the earth. Now reduced to collapsed shadows, bound in eternal confinement behind gates of darkness, they did not roar, they did not fight. They only trembled as the king approached. And further still, where no light had ever burned, ancient demons lay chained. These were not everyday tempters, but primordial tyrants of darkness, beings sealed away long before Rome ever existed. Their massive forms were bound by supernatural restraints, unable to rise, unable to flee, yet fully aware of one thing: their dominion was ending. As Jesus walked deeper into the realm, chains rattled. The watchers bowed low. The imprisoned giants recoiled. The ancient demons pressed into shadow. For the first time in ages, fear returned to the underworld. He did not challenge them. He did not engage them. He merely passed by. And that alone was terror enough. Behind him stood Michael, not in battle formation, but as a witness. Sword lowered, eyes locked forward. He was not here to fight, because there would be no resistance. At Jesus' side moved Uriel. Where darkness swallowed all light, Uriel became the flame within the blackness. Shadows recoiled from his glow. Hidden souls lifted their eyes. The realm of waiting began to awaken. Before them rose ancient gates, massive barriers forged in rebellion, seals carved deep into their surface. Chains thicker than stone bound their beams. No knock sounded, no negotiation followed. Jesus stopped and spoke one command. Open! The gates groaned not from physical strain, but from spiritual surrender. Chains shattered, seals dissolved. The prison shook. Behind the gates, souls who had waited centuries stirred. Abraham, David, the prophets, the faithful who died holding promises they never lived to see fulfilled. Light spread not from heaven above, but from the King standing among them. Here's the question that strikes the heart. Have you ever felt trapped, waiting for rescue that never came? What if the rescue didn't come down from above, but walked into the darkness to reach you? As the prison of death collapsed, something else began to form. In the wake of shattered chains, shimmering within the air itself, keys appeared. Not metal, not forged, but etched with eternal authority. One by one, they settled into the hand of Jesus. The King had reached the deepest realm of death. Now he held every lock. And what happened next would not remain hidden in darkness. Because the moment the keys were lifted, death itself realized it was about to lose forever. In the deepest realm of death, Jesus stood motionless. The ancient prison lay shattered around him, chains hung broken in midair, and the awakened souls watched in silence. Behind him, Michael stood guard, sword lowered now no longer for restraint, but for respect. Beside him, Uriel burned brighter than ever. His light filled the darkness like dawn breaking through midnight. Slowly, Jesus lifted his hand, and the keys rose with it. Not heavy, not forged, but radiating authority that bent the shadows backward. The realm of death trembled. For the first time, it understood something it had never faced before. Death was not holding Christ. Christ was holding death. The watchers recoiled in fear, spiritual prisons collapsed, ancient powers retreated deeper into shadow. Every realm knew a throne had just shifted. Michael bowed his head not in worship, but in solemn recognition. His duty was fulfilled. The war had not ended, but the victory was sealed. Uriel lifted both hands. Light surged outward, not just through Sheol, but through time itself. From the prophets awaiting freedom, to the disciples weeping in Jerusalem, to generations not yet born, the signal was sent. The King has won. Here's the question that settles deep. If Christ holds the keys to death, what holds you? What fear still cages your heart? What shadow still whispers that God is distant? Jesus turned back toward the waiting souls and toward the world above, not as one escaping the grave, but as a conqueror returning from it. And the next phase would not unfold in darkness, but in blinding resurrection light.